Imagine coordinating the movement of 1 billion living, breathing, 1,000-pound animals across continents. Not packages, not containers, but cattle. Massive, living cargo that eats, breathes, and moves. Now picture doing it every single day, with the clock ticking, the weather changing, and the world watching. This isn't just farming. This is one of the most logistically intense, technologically advanced, and controversially debated industries in the world. And it's bigger than you ever imagined. Today, FactoryX takes you inside the massive, hidden world of cattle transport, where high-stakes farming, powerful machines, and global controversy all collide.
A billion head of cattle. Right now, as you watch this video, there are over 1 billion cattle alive on Earth. That's not a metaphor or an exaggeration. It's a real number. That means for every 8 people on this planet, there's at least 1 cow, somewhere grazing, feeding, or being moved through a supply chain that rarely sleeps. These animals are scattered across vast ranches in Brazil, family-owned farms in the American Midwest, feedlots in Australia, and high-altitude pastures in India. And they aren't just being raised for meat. Cattle are the engine behind a massive multi-trillion-dollar global industry that supplies milk, leather, gelatin, insulin, biofuels, fertilizers, and even pet food. Nearly every part of a cow is used, and that means every single one has value. Real value, measured not just in dollars, but in logistics. Now think about this. Over 300 million cattle are transported from one place to another every single year. That's nearly 1 million cattle moved every day, rain or shine, winter or summer, across highways, railways, oceans, and sometimes even skies.
Wir haben 25 Kühe und wir sind eigentlich auf Mürner Boden im Frühling 4 Wochen. Und nachher geht es in die höher gelegenen Stäfel. Da sind wir jetzt zu Wanneln und da sind wir etwa rund 7 Wochen oben.
The scale is so massive, it's hard to fully comprehend. This isn't just farming anymore. This is infrastructure. Each animal needs feeding, watering, vaccinations, permits, identification tags, and route coordination. Every movement needs to comply with regional laws, import-export regulations, health checks, and strict animal welfare codes. It's a supply chain that operates with the precision of an army, and the stakes are high. A single mistake can result in dozens of deaths, millions in losses, or massive legal fines. Take a country like India, for example. It has the world's largest cattle population, over 300 million, largely due to cultural and religious significance. But they're not exported. In contrast, Brazil and Australia are major exporters of live cattle to countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, and China. The logistics involved in getting those cattle from ranches to ships, across hundreds of miles of unpredictable terrain, requires not just manpower, but a combination of tech, timing, and sheer horsepower.
And then there's the US, where the cattle industry is built on speed and scale. Calves are born on cow-calf operations, raised on grass pastures, moved to feedlots by truck, and eventually transported to meat processing facilities, some of which process up to 6,000 cattle a day. It's an unbroken chain, and if any link fails, the entire system backs up. So when people hear the number, 1 billion cattle, it often sounds like a statistic. But behind that number is a relentless worldwide movement, an invisible engine that connects rural fields to urban grocery shelves. And that engine runs 24/7, powered by systems most people never see. And this is just the start. Because once those cattle are raised, they need to move. And that's when the real machinery kicks in, the machines behind the movement. So how exactly do you move a billion-pound industry with machines that look like they belong in a sci-fi movie, but are built for one of Earth's oldest professions, herding? Cattle aren't like boxes or crates. They breathe, they shift, They kick and they panic. That's what makes transporting them so complicated, and why the machinery involved has become shockingly advanced. Let's start with the most common workhorse, livestock trucks. These aren't your average semis. The best of them are custom-built, multi-decked, and reinforced to handle thousands of pounds of shifting weight. Inside, they're fitted with anti-slip flooring, internal gates, and ventilation systems that circulate air even in brutal heat. Some even come equipped with climate monitoring tech, allowing drivers to keep an eye on temperature and humidity inside the trailer in real time. Because when the heat spikes, cattle don't just get uncomfortable, they can die. The largest of these trucks, especially in cattle-rich countries like Australia and the US, can haul 40 to 50 animals per load, depending on size and age. They're designed not just for capacity, but for efficiency and animal welfare. You'll often find double or triple-decker configurations with sloped ramps that allow cattle to move between levels. The entire structure is optimized to prevent overcrowding while still maximizing headcount. In regions with flat terrain and long distances, like Argentina or the Australian outback, some trucks pull multiple trailers, known as road trains, stretching over 160 feet long. Picture a literal train on rubber tires, carrying hundreds of live animals through rugged landscapes. It's one of the few places in the world where highway cow caravans are a normal sight. But roads aren't the only path these animals travel. Enter rail cars. Cattle trains may not be as common as they were in the early 20th century, but they're still used in regions with large distances between feedlots and processors. These rail cars are larger than truck trailers and can carry up to 2 to 3 times the number of cattle per trip, but they require massive loading infrastructure and often come with increased stress risk, so their use is highly strategic and usually reserved for high-volume corridors. Still, land has its limits, and when cattle need to move overseas, that's when the true giants arrive. Livestock ships. These aren't repurposed cargo ships. They're floating farms, designed from the hull up for moving live animals. With internal pens, walkways, food silos, and water systems, they can carry up to 20,000 cattle at once. They're divided by size, species, and destination, with trained handlers on board for weeks-long voyages across oceans. Each level of the ship is ventilated to manage ammonia buildup, and drainage systems keep waste moving to avoid disease outbreaks. Some ships even come with built-in incinerators in case of onboard fatalities, a grim but necessary reality. And in rare cases, cattle even fly. Yep, fly. For extremely valuable breeds like genetic stock for breeding programs, special cargo planes are retrofitted with modular stalls, padding, and oxygen controls. It's costly, risky, and only used when the animal's price tag reaches into the tens or hundreds of thousands. So whether it's wheels, rails, ships, or wings, moving cattle isn't a side job. It's a fully industrialized system, with each vehicle acting as a piece of a machine that's constantly in motion. And this machine doesn't just move cows, it moves economies. When it comes to moving cattle on land, trucking is king. It's the most flexible, widely used method, and in countries like the US, Australia, Canada, and Brazil, it's the backbone of the entire cattle industry. These aren't your everyday delivery drivers. Livestock haulers operate under tight schedules, strict animal welfare laws, and extreme pressure. One delay, one missed rest stop, and you could be looking at massive losses, not just in dollars, but in animal lives. Modern cattle trucks are built for more than just hauling. They're essentially rolling barns, equipped with ventilation fans, temperature sensors, shock-absorbing floors, and internal partitions to keep cattle from trampling each other during sudden stops. Some even include real-time GPS tracking and motion sensors to monitor the animal's behavior en route. Drivers are trained in low-stress handling techniques because yelling, jabbing, or rushing the cattle can increase cortisol levels, making them more likely to panic, fight, or injure themselves. And stressed cattle lose weight fast, which directly affects profits. There's also a legal clock ticking the moment they hit the road. In most regions, animals can only travel for a certain number of hours before they must be unloaded for food, water, and rest. That means these trips are choreographed down to the mile, with pre-approved rest stations, vet checkpoints, and backup routes in case of accidents. And unlike other types of hauling, cattle transport isn't just about the destination. It's about keeping the animals alive and healthy when they get there. Because in this business, time isn't just money. Time is life. You've heard of cruise ships, but have you ever heard of a floating feedlot? Livestock carriers are gigantic vessels that can haul up to 20,000 cattle at a time, especially from Australia to Asia or South America to the Middle East. These ships are equipped with everything: feed bunkers, automated water systems, medical bays, and even designated sick bays for quarantine. Ventilation is critical. Without it, heat stress can become fatal in hours. The entire ship is divided into pens, and cow caretakers, yes, full-time caretakers, are on board for the journey. Some voyages last up to 3 weeks, and the cattle are monitored 24/7. In rare but high-value situations, such as live genetic breeding stock, airplanes like the Boeing 747 are customized with modular cattle stalls. It's outrageously expensive, but when the value per head hits 6 figures, it's worth it. Still, none of this works without one critical factor: keeping the cattle alive and calm. Cattle don't travel well when they're stressed, and stress causes more than just mooing. It leads to weight loss, aggression, injuries, and sometimes death. That's not just bad for animal welfare, it's a loss of profit. So every part of cattle transport is designed to minimize stress. Loading ramps must be at specific angles. Flooring is coated with anti-slip materials like rubber matting or sawdust, and handlers use curved chutes because cattle naturally move more willingly in arcs than straight lines. Some facilities use low-frequency soundscapes to keep the animals calm, yes, like mood music for cows. And at designated rest stops, cows are unloaded, fed, and checked by vets. But even with all these precautions, not every trip goes smoothly. In 2023, a livestock carrier overturned in Sudan, drowning over 15,000 sheep.
Overladen ship crammed with thousands of sheep sank on Sunday in Sudan's Red Sea port of Suakin, drowning most animals on board, but with all crews surviving. The livestock vessel was exporting the animals from Sudan to Saudi Arabia when it sank after several thousand more animals were loaded.
In another case, an air transport malfunction in Brazil led to over $2 million in livestock losses. Extreme heat, equipment failures, and rough seas can turn a routine trip into disaster. And when something goes wrong with thousands of animals on board, there are no easy solutions. That's why redundancy systems are built in: backup power, emergency vents, and even evacuation protocols. Still, the system isn't perfect, and the industry has come under increasing fire for another issue: the environmental cost. Cattle are massive methane emitters, contributing to global warming, and transporting them adds to the footprint: diesel trucks, ocean fuel, air transport emissions. Then there's the ethical debate. Animal rights groups argue that long-haul transport is inhumane, citing high mortality rates and insufficient care during some international shipments. Undercover footage has shown horrifying conditions on poorly managed ships: overcrowding, dehydration, and suffocation. Governments have responded with tighter regulations. Australia, for example, banned live exports to Indonesia for a time after reports of abuse. The European Union has imposed maximum travel time limits, and activists are pushing for bans altogether. Still, the demand hasn't stopped. If anything, it's grown. Which leads to the next wave: innovation. To meet environmental goals, some companies are investing in electric livestock trucks, although current battery weight and range limits make them more of a PR move than a practical one. A more viable solution? Hydrogen-powered trucks, already in prototype stages, that offer long-haul capacity with zero tailpipe emissions. Meanwhile, feed innovations like red seaweed additives are being tested to reduce cow methane emissions by over 80%. AI-driven loading algorithms are improving space usage while minimizing injury, and some startups are working on virtual fencing systems, allowing ranchers to move cows across massive lands digitally. No transport needed at all. But the biggest shift? Lab-grown meat and plant-based alternatives. If these trends catch on globally, the demand for long-haul cattle movement may plummet in coming decades. For now, though, the system keeps moving. Behind every bite of steak, every leather belt, every gallon of milk, there's a machine you rarely see, but one that touches nearly every corner of the globe. It's a machine built not of gears and wires, but of trucks, ships, trains, and the tireless work of farmers, drivers, handlers, and caretakers, moving over 1 billion cattle through a system that's as complex as it is invisible to most of us. This isn't just agriculture, it's global infrastructure, a 24/7 operation where biology meets logistics, and where timing, precision, and care determine the difference between profit and disaster. But as the world changes, so do the questions we ask. Can this system keep up with growing demand, rising temperatures, and public pressure for more humane and sustainable practices? Will innovation fix the cracks, or will the industry reach a breaking point? as climate concerns, ethical debates, and lab-grown alternatives gain ground. Because here's the truth, this system isn't going anywhere until something better replaces it. And whether you're someone who eats meat every day or not at all, this affects you. From environmental impact to supply chains, global food security to animal ethics, the cattle industry is more than just cows. It's a mirror reflecting how far we're willing to go to feed the world, and what we're willing to overlook to get it done. So next time you see a livestock trailer on the highway or walk past a burger joint, take a second. Think about the journey behind that product, the scale, the machinery, the lives involved, and ask yourself, what does the future of food really look like, and how should we shape it? If this video opened your eyes, don't just scroll past. Like, share, and comment with your thoughts, because this is a conversation we all need to be having. And for more stories that dive into the industries shaping our world from behind the scenes, subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next.